Hello everybody, Ed0626 here. Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. I apologize that this video is going to be out later than I would have liked it to be, but unfortunately due to my work schedule, I just didn't have time to create the content. Nonetheless, I'm here today, and I want to thank each and every single one of you for joining me in today's video. We're going to be talking about the FIFA World Cup, kind of be breaking it down as much as I possibly can, from what I thought before the tournament began to what I thought as everything was happening, from the group stage, the elimination stage, to the finals. We're going to be talking about it all, and I look forward to it. So let's first and foremost talk about who I thought were going to win. These were my Frontrunner picks, as I typically like to have. Every time the World Cup comes around, I pick a group of teams, or a group of countries, I should say, who possibly could win, and that list is as follows. Spain, because they normally do very well. Maybe not the last couple of years, but they normally do very well in the World Cup. France, for obvious reasons. We all know how I feel about France's World Cup win last year, but it is what it is. Obviously, they have to be front runners. I mean, Mbappe, he's a little bit older now. He's probably gotten just as good, if not better, than he was during the first World Cup run that he had. Brazil for, again, obvious reasons. Portugal because, there's a possibility that despite everything going on with Cristiano Ronaldo at the time, between him leaving Manchester United, there was a lot of controversy with that. So I was curious to know how that would affect the overall team. But I had a sneaking suspicion that maybe they could be a dark horse pick and Ronaldo could possibly get a championship. And Belgium. I don't know if I mentioned this a lot last year, but Belgium's run, to me, in the last World Cup was magical. That's the only way I could describe it. Hazard was playing out of his mind. Lukaku was playing out of his mind. De Bruyne, everybody was doing a fantastic job on that end. They got third place when they beat England in the third place game. So I had the feeling that maybe they could push through and get second or even win the World Cup. Of course, at the time, I'm still not following the sport of football or soccer. And I had no idea that Hazard had drastically fell off. Hell, I don't even think he played for a good portion of the World Cup, or if he was virtually invisible, because I didn't see him really have many touches, to be quite honest with you. But those were my front runner picks. So now let's move on to what my thoughts were during the group stage. So if you heard correctly, yes, at the time, I did not think Argentina was a team that I could have a whole lot of stock in. Granted, their run in 2018 was fucking miserable to watch. I think they got eliminated in the group stage rather handily because I think the way the offense was kind of centered around Messi, from what I understand. They kind of just had this whole offensive game plan and it completely centered around Messi. And when Messi couldn't get into position, well, the overall team kind of didn't do their jobs either. So, obviously, I didn't have much expectations for them, and that only was emphasized in the loss to Saudi Arabia. I mean, shit, who can forget that fucking video of that one Saudi guy? He was like, "Where's Messi? Where's Messi at? Where's Messi?" And I'm just like, oh, God, they're really going to milk this for a couple of days now until the next game. But, yeah, man, that was an upset of the century, if you ask me. I did not expect Argentina to lose to this Saudi Arabia. I don't really ever have much expectations when it comes to the Middle East or African countries because I just don't normally see them ever going past like the first round of the elimination stage, because obviously some teams move on from the group stage, but normally there's not much expectation for them. That was not the case for Morocco, who actually did not lose a single game in the group stage. They only ever tied Croatia, I think, in their first match. Which is wild because Morocco was also beating some pretty heavy hitters. They beat Belgium, they tied Croatia, and I think they beat somebody else that was in that stage. I forgot who it was, but odds are I don't think they moved on anyways, so they weren't really that important to begin with. But Morocco was a joy to watch during the group stage, man. Even though they beat a team I wanted to win, I have to hand it to them. Obviously, they have the skill, and I'll once again come back to that, but let's talk about the United States, man. The U.S.'s group stage performance was probably one of the most underwhelming performances I think I could have ever watched. They definitely could have won the game against Wales, but for some fucking reason they wanted to give away a penalty kick, and that caused that game to be tied because obviously the Welsh guy scored. So that was disappointing in our first match, which was supposed to be huge for us. It was like a major thing. We obviously missed the 2018 World Cup, and here was our chance to make a statement, and we failed in making that statement. Then we move on to England, which for 90 minutes was probably one of the most excruciating games I probably have ever seen in my life. That was tough to watch in most cases because no team really could get an advantage. How England did not score once on us is beyond me. And considering we had some decent chances for, I think, most of the second half, I'm really shocked that we didn't score either. So what does that say to both teams going forward that as this, worldwide competition continues? And then US finally beats Iran by the skin of their teeth because they played really solid in the first half, and then the second half just completely collapsed, and somehow, some way, Iran or Iran, in this case, they completely shit the bed, did not take advantage of it at all. They had majority possession, I think, for most of that second half, and by the skin of our teeth, we ended up moving past the group stage. But again, it was a very underwhelming performance. Christian Pulisic, I've heard a lot of good things about him going into this. Was I impressed? Kind of. Do I think the overall team is fine? Maybe. All I can say is thank God next year next World Cup in 2026, when it's in the US and I can actually go to a match live, I'm just glad that we automatically qualify because we're a host country. So I don't have to worry about us missing it, but still, I can't imagine how we're going to perform in 2026. But I don't want to be overwhelmingly negative about it. But still, it's something to worry about if you're a fan of United States soccer, in this case. Belgium, man. During the group stage, I mentioned it before with Morocco, Belgium just utterly disappointed me, and I want to talk about that one particular game. They had, that I counted, 4 or 5 chances in the second half to score. I think it was on Croatia. And man, it wasn't even just Belgium that had those 4 or 5 chances. It was Lukaku. Lukaku himself, who came in as a substitute for the second half, had 4 or 5 chances and somehow, some way, missed every single one of them. And every time there was a chance for it to go in the net, the goaltender just happened to be right there. Right there. That was heartbreaking to watch. And I'm shocked that none of those went past into the net. I'm really shocked to this day. But still, that was a disappointing performance by Belgium. So that's already one of my teams I thought that was going to move forward. They get eliminated. And that was a shame to watch. Mbappe. Good old French. Good old Frenchies over there, man. I hate the fact that they're so good. I hate the fact that they're so good, but Mbappe is a joy to watch. He is an absolute joy to watch, man. He's really good, and he just continued to impress me even more throughout the course of this World Cup, especially in the group stage. The things that kid's going to be when he's a little bit older, I'll mention it later in the video, but there may be, I'm not saying there will be, but there may be talk that he could possibly be one of the greats in the sport. But again, we'll talk about that as we reach the next part of the video, which is the elimination stage. Now, the elimination stage started off with Netherlands and the US. And as many of us expected, Netherlands completely destroyed us. Van Dijk, my homie from Liverpool, Van Dijk and everybody just completely stunted all over us. It goes to show that the U.S. has a very young team that has a lot to learn, and hopefully this experience that they got is going to carry them for the next 4 years into 2026, when I would say it's probably the World Cup that they need to show out in. They need to show up and show out, because As I mentioned, their group stage was horribly underwhelming, and their one elimination game in the round of 16 was lackluster to say the least. And as time goes on, Morocco, one of the teams that I didn't see much of, they were doing great in the group stage, but how is that going to translate going into the elimination matches? They're just stunting on everybody. They are beating everybody. They beat Spain, which I don't think a lot of people expected. And then later on, they beat Portugal, which is even wilder to think because Portugal had an absolute game scoring 6 goals against Switzerland. Now, I know some friends of mine that know the sport better than I do. They'll say, Switzerland's not really, they're an okay team, but they're not really something to worry about. And I see that point. But when you score 6 goals, it's like, oh shit, how are they going to handle this stout Moroccan team that just seems to be beating everybody and beat probably one of the biggest front runners in the tournament up to this point in Spain? Well, they do that by back-breaking defense. They scored, Morocco, 1 goal, and every chance Portugal had, it didn't go through. Now, granted, those 2 matches that Portugal had in the elimination stages, for whatever reason, they didn't play Ronaldo for, I think, the first half, or if not most of the games. So I'm still perplexed as to why they thought that was a good idea. Maybe because of everything going on with him, or maybe he's just, he's an older guy now. Maybe he can't run those types of minutes anymore, especially if it starts going into deep time. So we are left to wonder what would happen if Morocco had faced someone like Ronaldo for a full match. Maybe the result might have been different. Maybe the result would have been the same. Who knows? All I know is, at this point, you have to respect Morocco for what they're doing, because they are absolutely showing up and showing out. Brazil. Oh, I am so upset I fucking missed this game. I was at work when this game was taking place. By the way, Qatar. Man, it really sucks that this World Cup was in a country like Qatar, man, because if it was in a country where I didn't have to get up at the ass crack of dawn to watch the first 2 matches of the day during the group stage, that would have been fucking great. And this is one of those days where I had to get up at the ass crack of dawn to go to work and then miss the entire first match, which was really fucking disappointing for me. So Croatia beats Brazil in penalty kicks, which nobody fucking expected. And quite frankly, I didn't expect much out of Croatia because I thought the run that they had the last World Cup was enough. But still, that's massive. So I'm here like, oh shit, Croatia's making another deep cup run. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. Netherlands and Argentina, a match that happened on the same fucking day in the quarterfinals. That match was fucking wild. I actually saw that when I got back from work. I saw the end of it, I should say. And holy shit, dude. That game had me on the edge of my seat. I thought for sure Argentina was going to blow this like they blew a couple of leads already throughout the course of the group stages. Little did I know at that time that they were making a legendary run for the finals. Speaking of the finals, I will say this, and I will say it with my whole chest. That was without a doubt the single greatest game of soccer I personally have ever watched. It had everything you wanted in one match. There were momentum struggles. Fan favorites were getting goals. Mbappe, I have to sing his praises once again and give him his flowers. Man scores a fucking hat trick. And 2 of those fucking goals were scored in about 2 minutes. In the last 10 minutes of regulation time. Or last 15. Either way, it was still very fucking impressive for the time that there was left on the clock. Messi scores 2 goals. I think Di Maria scored a goal that was pretty fucking impressive. Everything is happening, man. Everything is happening. Now, at this point in time, I was not watching the game because I was going to work. So I was going to watch it on replay. So I get to where I need to be at this bar. And they had the game on, and I'm like, oh, fuck. There goes my hopes of not getting spoiled. Keep in mind, when I left my house, it was 2-0 at halftime. When I got to the bar for my event, it was 3-2 in overtime. So I'm saying to myself, okay, there's no goddamn way Argentina's going to blow this with the amount of time they have left in this overtime period. That's when Mbappe scored the fucking penalty kick. Wild. Insane. Man, that was when France scored again. In the 5 minutes it took me to talk to the manager of the establishment about where to set up, get all the shit out of my van with my coworker, set up said shit in the van, they had scored. That was like a 5-minute period. Maybe a little bit more, 6 minutes at most. I was speechless. I'm like, this is insane. Then they go to penalty kicks. And then that's where everything you wanted to happen happened. Now keep in mind, I am repping Argentina hard at this point. I don't like France. I respect Mbappe, but I don't like France. And let me tell you, when that last penalty for Argentina landed in the net, I was so goddamn happy, dude. I was the happiest man alive. Because all my years of knowing about soccer and casually watching it as time goes on, all I've ever heard about is Messi. That's all I've ever heard about. Him and Ronaldo are like the top two that in my generation of soccer fans or soccer watchers, they're the top two. So it was nice to see at least one of those top two finally bring home the World Cup to their country. And the videos that were online from Argentina, there was a fucking crowd of people in like Buenos Aires and then in Messi's hometown. They were going wild. It was insane. The atmosphere in that country, in Argentina, must have been off the charts. I would have killed to be there, man. I would have killed to be in that sort of environment because I can only imagine that they're probably still partying now, even as I make this video. So here's a point I want to make now that I don't want to upset anybody when I say this, but when it comes to the Messi versus Ronaldo debate for, greatest of all time, I'm not particularly saying I'm going to choose either side, but I do feel like the argument may or may not have swayed in Messi's favor because with all due respect to Ronaldo and Portugal and all that, it's just a real massive achievement to have. It's basically one man throughout the course of this tournament taking his country on his back, in addition to several others who did very well throughout the tournament. The goalkeeper, Martinez, he played a massive part, especially after the Netherlands match. Di Maria did a fantastic job as well. McAllister was doing a fantastic job. These guys were just putting that country on their back. And you could say this, you could make the same argument for how Portugal was playing in the first couple matches of elimination. Ramos had a fucking hat trick against Switzerland. Now, again, Switzerland's not that impressive, so it's pretty easy to do, but still, it's an impressive feat nonetheless. Take out what they do for their country, and then you kind of think about what they do individually for their clubs. It's kind of neck and neck. Ronaldo has won championships for every club he's been a part of. Messi is still trying to win a championship for his current club, which I fucking forget the name of, unfortunately. My apologies. So there's an argument for that, Ronaldo has taken his clubs to more championship wins. But I don't know, man. I think the World Cup has a little bit heavier impact than that because it is such a worldwide stage. But I'll let you guys decide. I'm kind of being neutral about it. I really like Messi. I don't say I don't care for Ronaldo, but he's not like my favorite. Especially since I've been watching Ronaldo more in his decline than anything. So it's like, how can I really make an assessment of that sort of thing? But I'm not taking either side. I'll let you people fight in the comment section about what you think of Ronaldo versus Messi and who's the GOAT now and who isn't and all that shit. But there is one point I want to make that might make some people upset. Now, my friend Mike from Bromigos, Panama Red, he disagrees with me on this. We have an episode about it coming out soon, so you can listen to his take on there. Link in the description. I said that the way we talk about Ronaldo and Messi now is how we're going to talk about Mbappe, say, in 10 years or so. Because he's just that good right now. He's that good. Now, Mike, he makes some points that I think are valid. He thinks Mbappe relies too much on his athleticism, the fact that he's super fast, and that doesn't last forever in this sport. So is he going to have that same impact that, say, Messi has at 34 years old, where, what did he do, score like 6 or 7 goals throughout the course of this World Cup? So I think that's a valid point, but I think that's something that's yet to be seen. Like I said, I'm going to give it 10 years, and we're going to see if Mbappe is in that discussion. But anyway, my final statements are as follows. I wholeheartedly believe that not only was this one of the best World Cups I've ever seen, and I've been watching the World Cup since 2010, I think I can honestly say after watching that final that being a fan of soccer or football is now solidified for me. Because before, I was just a casual fan, a casual watcher. I only watched the World Cup, and now here I am, waking up at the ass crack of dawn to watch teams like Liverpool, who is the club that I chose to support as I start getting into the Premier League, because they win a lot. Yes, I'm a Frontrunner, sue me. But nonetheless, the point still remains is that as I watch more of this sport, I really just enjoy the atmosphere. I enjoy the fact that there's not fucking 10 different commercials that have to play every 2 or 3 minutes in a fucking game like football has, or hockey, or basketball, or any of that shit. I just enjoy that it's 90 fucking minutes of straight play, and that's it. I think I'm sold, man. I'm sold on the sport. It took well over 10 years, but I'm sold. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I know the video went a little bit long, but I appreciate you staying here if you stayed here for the whole thing. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and whatever else you celebrate, as it is the holiday season. God bless, and I'll see you all on the next one.